Hey there, so 2025 is here and we're off to a great start. The second half of last year was pretty tumultuous. We saw, inventory start to grow at the end of the year, and there was certainly a lot of buyer uncertainty around the election and, all of the changes that are potentially happening. I feel like now that that is somewhat settled, there's a return to confidence in the economy. Obviously, the stock market has been growing, and we have seen pre-approval numbers up. So my anticipation for this year is that we're going to see a robust growth to our local marketplace here in the East Bay. Obviously, time is going to tell. So some market trends that I'm anticipating to see this year is I think inventory is going to remain relatively tight. We did see inventory start to grow a little bit towards the end of last year. However, a lot of those properties either got bought or were pulled off the market. And I think continuing this year, we're going to see more inventory than we did towards the end of last year. But in general, things are likely to remain tight. So the continued scarcity is likely going to be a benefit for the sellers who are out there. I do think that there will be still a lot of opportunities for buyers as well, especially in properties that need a little bit of work. If something hasn't been updated or needs some significant landscaping improvements, those are great properties to take a look at and potentially make an offer on if you're in the housing market. Another factor that I think is going to impact us this year is going to be the continued pressure on insurability. Obviously, it's devastating everything that we've seen happening in Southern California this year, and I think it's only going to add to the pressure that we're seeing from the insurance companies. I do anticipate that insurance rates are going to continue to go up as they have been for the last few years, and I think that that is going to provide some downward pressure on certain market segments where it's a little more challenging to get insurance than others. Another thing to keep an eye on is interest rates. Last, 6 months or so, we have seen interest rates go up almost a full percent. Whereas last summer they were down in the sixes, we're definitely hovering in the low sevens right now. So my hope is that we're going to see some downward pressure on interest rates as we move into the spring market here, but only time is going to tell. And really it's going to be dependent on the economy softening a little bit further, which so far hasn't been happening this year. For sellers, one thing to keep in mind is that the optimum time to sell your home is typically spring. So that those are really the months of March, April, and May. And so if you're thinking about selling right now, is a great time to be having a conversation with us so that we can get a strategy in place to get your home on the market when conditions are optimal. I also want to talk about some of the ways that we add value to our clients' homes. So we have a great team and we work with a lot of trades professionals, including contractors and landscapers and inspectors. And what I call the hierarchy of value are the three areas that are most important to pay attention to when preparing your home for sale. So that's your kitchen, your yard, and your bathrooms. And sometimes some strategic improvements on the inside, such as, facelifting the kitchen or doing a light remodel on a bathroom, combined with simple landscape improvements like putting in a fresh lawn or fresh plants, can really make a big difference. So one of the approaches that we take is coming up with a customized plan to really present your property in its best light possible, and ideally get you a significant return on that investment. Another area that pound for pound is always the most important improvement for your property or in presenting it for sale is going to be staging. So we work with a number of local stagers who really curate the look to bring to your house to optimize its appeal for the local market. And another thing that's important is coming up with a custom timeline for your house. There's the timeline of the market, but there's also the timeline of your life. And so it's important to strike a balance between those two, finding when is going to be the most optimum time to get your home on the market, both for market timing and market conditions, but then also making sure we fit that in with your life and whatever may be going on. For buyers, it's really important to focus on having a strong pre-approval in place. So it's really important that you're working with a fantastic local lender and that they're really underwriting your file up front and in advance. The last thing that you want is to get into escrow on a home and then all of a sudden find out that there's some hole in your approval that's either going to make it challenging for you to obtain financing or that you're going to have to, get support from somebody else that you weren't expecting. So working with a local lender who has a great reputation in our local marketplace and also a track record of success is one of the most important things you can do to prepare yourself for purchasing in 2025. Another thing that we'd like to talk about for buyers is really focusing on value. So there's a couple of different ways you can look at that. For some clients, that means buying a home where a lot of the infrastructure items have already been done. Things like roof, drainage, electrical upgrades, those are all things that cost a lot of money, but you don't necessarily get a big return on their replacement when you're selling a property. On the flip side, if you can find something where those systems have been improved, but there still needs kitchen and bathroom updates, you can really get a great deal on that, because the kitchen and the bathroom and the yard, those are emotional components that sometimes people think, oh, well, let's just leave this for the buyer to do so that they can make it their own. Those are things that we usually recommend sellers don't do, because they end up leaving a lot of money on the table. So if you can find something that needs those improvements, oftentimes it's a great way to find value that somebody else is going to leave on the table. The other thing that we say is really important for our buyers is make sure you're working with a broker who has hyper-local market knowledge. Our market here in the East Bay is so diverse, just properties that are only a few blocks apart from each other can be a significant difference in value, and that has to do with, topography of the land, what the school districts are, access to amenities, even the neighborhood and or the city that it's in. There's some parts of Oakland and Berkeley that are right on the edge, but it can make a big difference on which city that you're in. So it's really important that you're working with an agent who has a strong track record of local experience, who knows what the school districts are, who knows where the natural hazards are, and can help advise you both on the bigger picture of the neighborhood and then the more concise or immediate issues of that existing property. So let us help you build your 2025 strategy, whether you're thinking about buying or selling or you're doing both. It's really important to get a good game plan in place and have a team working with you who's ready to execute on your timeline. I also just want to tell a story about a client that I'm working with right now. So I have some long-term family friends. They were actually my parents' business partners when I was a kid, so I grew up with these people. And they contacted me a couple of weeks ago because their home is really not working for them anymore. They've got some mobility challenges, and it's really time for them to find a new space. So within the course of about 10 days of first starting the conversation, we found a replacement property that's going to work really well for them. We built a whole timeline and plan for their existing home and what needs to happen in order for them to get it sold, and then we've begun executing on it already. So we wrote a fantastic offer that's contingent on the sale of their existing home. It was accepted right away. The sellers were very happy with it, and now we're going to work with getting their home ready for sale. There are a lot of moving pieces there, so we're going to help them with coordinating movers, coordinating all of the preparation to the home, and we're going to get their house on the market in about a month and a half from when we started this conversation, and ideally it'll be in escrow and sold shortly thereafterwards, and then likely we're going to have a simultaneous closing on their new property at the same time as their existing one. And so what this is allowing them to do is they're really able to untap the equity that's in their home with full protection, so that there is a contingency to make sure that they can sell their existing home and then be able to move into the new property all within a few months. And so really there was a lot of legwork up front that I had to do to build kind of the offer strategy, the timeline process strategy for their existing home, and then to be able to convey that to the seller of their replacement property and their agent to give them confidence to move forward with our offer. So it was accepted last night, and now we're on our way to getting their property prepared and on the market for this coming spring. So if you're looking to make a move this year, please feel free to give us a call. We're happy to sort of talk through your options, talk through the process, and when the time is right and you're ready, to help you create a plan and execute on it based on your needs. So thanks so much. Have a great day. Bye.